How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be taking a look at my Don Coscarelli DVD collection, although there is one Blu-ray in there, so DVD Blu-ray collection, I suppose. This is a near-complete collection. For those of you who know anything about Don Coscarelli, there are three DVDs that are extremely rare, but they're also kind of outside my interest. These ones aren't horror, and yeah, so let me get into that. Don Coscarelli movies that I don't have. The two kids movies, Jimmy the World's Greatest and Kenny and Company. And then he also did a kind of a wilderness survival movie called Survival Quest. Now, all three of these movies didn't get huge print runs, and in turn, because they are movies made by a famous director that didn't get huge print runs, they're all going for like crazy amounts of money on the internet right now. But because they're not really horror, I'm not super big into finding them, but they are definitely the kind of thing where if I were to see them, I would snatch them up. But the collection as it is now has pretty much everything I really want, but that being said, the three that are missing, if I see them, I will pick them up. First, I guess, if we talk Don Coscarelli, we have to talk about his most famous series, Phantasm. This is the Phantasm 5-movie collection. Now, for those of you who know Phantasm, you know that the first movie was actually really rare for a while. It was on DVD, then there was a rights thing, and then it didn't have a printing for a long time. Those DVDs got crazy expensive, but eventually the rights issue was resolved, and now I was able to, for $8, pick up all 5 movies on one collection there, so that is really, really good. Don Coscarelli directed the first 4. The 5th one was directed by someone else, but since I got it out, I'll go ahead and talk about it. And the only issue with this set is if you flip it open, they're all stacked on top of each other. So, yeah, these kind of things where it's a big well and all the discs are stacked up are kind of a pain in the butt, but hey, to get all 5 movies for that cheap is something great. But anyway, let's talk about them one at a time. The original Phantasm is a really great surrealist movie about death. This kid, someone he's close to, dies. Him and his brother are going to the funeral, and he sees a few strange things at the funeral. There is an undertaker, an incredibly tall man, who seems to be up to something. And in addition, there are dwarfs and floating metallic spheres that are roaming the halls of the morgue. And it is a crazy, surrealist movie that is really, really cool and is incredibly low budget and took them forever to film. But if you like surrealist horror, you gotta check out Phantasm. The tall man is a great villain, and it does really well, especially considering its production. Phantasm 2, The Ball is Back. This one has some artwork on the disc that's fun. Phantasm 2, Jody's been away at the hospital for a while. He comes back and finds that everything he was worried about is all still out there. It starts to be a little bit more of a road trip movie. And the thing you need to know with this one is it's a bigger budget, but it's not as surrealist. A lot of people prefer 2 because it is bigger budget, but I prefer the atmosphere of the first one better. There's a bit more humor in this one as well. Some people like 2 better. I'm personally in Phantasm 1's camp, so Phantasm 1, Phantasm 2. Phantasm 3 gets a little ignored. It's kind of the forgotten movie in the middle. It's still a road trip. The tall man's still out there doing a bunch of stuff. But it doesn't have any big memorable thing, about it. There's a cool fight scene at the end, but yeah, not much happens in 3, and it's the weakest of the series. Phantasm 4, Oblivion. The thing with this one, it's kind of a step in the right direction. Well, it actually, so it's a weird thing. Phantasm 4, he is fighting the tall man. It's really personal, and he gets a bunch of visions of him as a kid, and the visions are actually a bunch of deleted scenes from the first one, because Coscarelli shot way too much. So it actually, like, half of this movie is just an extended version of Phantasm 1. And also, this is the cover there is from Oblivion. But yeah, this is a bunch of extra clips from Phantasm 1. So if you like the first Phantasm, you watch this, you get to see a bunch more of it. Then Ravager, this is the one not directed by Don Coscarelli. There's a bunch of CG in this one, but they use it to make it a big and epic finale. I don't think they intended it to be a finale, but everything's big, and it's the fate of the world in this one, and you know, they're running around, CG eyeballs flying everywhere. It's really cool. They ended at a place where, you know, they left it open to do more. It's an okay ending as is, but I think they wanted to make a 6th one. The only problem is the actor who portrayed the tall man unfortunately passed away after this film, so I doubt we'll be getting a Phantasm 6, unless they either recast or write the character out. We might get a remake, but that's the closest I think we'd get to any more Phantasm because of the unfortunate death of the tall man. But anyway, the other thing about these stacker discs is getting them all back in there. Come on. Okay, one at a time, if that's how we gotta do it. Maybe get these, yeah, there we go. Stacker cases, gee. Alright, so there's all the Phantasm stuff. Moving on, he directed a fantasy movie called Beastmaster. In this one, you get a young man versus an evil wizard, and he has the ability to communicate with animals. He can talk to them and also see through their eyes, and he has his falcon, his black tiger, his weasels, and they all serve different purposes. It's a really great sword and sorcery style fantasy movie, and if you're into that, definitely check it out. I do have a full review for this one. I probably will eventually get around to doing full reviews of everything. This series is just sort of my way of covering everything all at once, you know. Up next, another movie I have a full review for, Bubba Ho-Tep. So in this one, you get Bruce Campbell. He plays a old Elvis who's secretly still alive, and no one believes he's really Elvis. He's at a retirement home, and he sees a mummy is there. A mummy is killing the old people because no one would suspect that they were murdered because everyone thinks they just died. And it's Elvis versus a mummy. You also get Ozzie Davis, who plays his friend there. Ozzie Davis thinks he's John F. Kennedy, and the government, you know, faked his death and put him in here. So it's a really weird, crazy story, but it somehow plays really well, and it's really, really fun. So I definitely recommend you guys check this out. Again, this is another one that I already have a full review up for, so if you want to check that out after you've seen this video, that'll be cool. The next one's the one I found on DVD from the director of Phantasm and Bubba Ho-Tep, John Dies at the End. Now, this is probably the weirdest movie. It's about this guy, and he's kind of, you know, your typical just middle-of-the-road guy, you know, kind of like your average, you know, so-and-so character. But then he finds there's a secret drug going by the name of soy sauce, but the secret drug is not just a drug. It has something to do with an undercover alien invasion, and he has to figure out what's going on, and it's all this interdimensional stuff and perceptions of reality stuff. It is the craziest, trippiest movie. But if you're into that sort of thing, that sort of high concept sci-fi stuff, definitely check this out. It's worth a watch, but fair warning, it is kind of trippy. But yeah, it's definitely fun, bigger budget and everything. So check out John Dies at the End. It's, I think, his latest one. So that's all the movies, but I do have one more thing for you guys. Don Coscarelli directed an episode of Masters of Horror. So if you've not heard of this show, Masters of Horror is a anthology television show where each episode would be a different thing, and because of Masters, they did an effort to get directors who are famous for doing horror movies and get a famous director on each time. So if you're a big fan of directors, a lot of the ones that made cool stuff have done an episode or two of Masters of Horror, and they also did the same with writers, where a lot of the short stories that famous horror writers have been made into episodes of Masters of Horror. I have the first season here, which is great to find all of them at once, because they kept trying to sell these by an episode or two at a time, and it says 13 movies from the greatest minds in horror. Not really movies, they're only about 50 minutes long. But if you flip to the back, you see John Carpenter, John Landis, Stuart Gordon, Dario Argento. But we go down, Don Coscarelli did Incident on and Off a Mountain Road, and it has this guy in it, Mr. Moonface. And it is on disc 2 here. Okay? Disc 2 is Don Coscarelli's story. So this one, it's also by John R. Lansdale, who was the guy who made the story that Bubba Ho-Tep was made into, and also has Angus Scrimm in it, who was the tall man from Phantasm. So you get a lot of his cool elements there. It's about this girl who, she's driving away and accidentally hits this abandoned car. She looks in the abandoned car, finds it full of blood, goes a little bit off the road, and sees Mr. Moonface, who has been responsible for knocking that abandoned car off the road, and he's a crazy person who is, kidnapping all these people that failed to make this really sharp turn. But it also flashes back to her story with this doomed relationship, and he's kind of an extreme survivalist prepper guy, and he's like, you gotta do better, you gotta do all these things, and she sort of, even though this relationship was doomed, she took things from it to help her out in the present day. So it's kind of told in two different timelines. But Masters of Horror, a lot of these episodes are okay, but you really see the low budget have a major effect, unfortunately, on the episodes, because they're all really low budget. But Don Coscarelli's episode actually worked really well despite the incredibly low budget. My dog's wanting a little bit of attention. I'll get to him in just a second. This is the last thing. But Don Coscarelli's episode's one of the better of the shows. It's really good. I definitely recommend you check it out. But that being said, I got to go attend to my dog, and we've covered everything. Anyway, I've covered about 95% horror on this channel. If you want to see more horror movies, definitely stick around. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping out the channel. And I'll put a playlist at the bottom here. It might be a Don Coscarelli playlist anyway. I'm going to go see what my dog wants. Have a good day.